Welcome to the Limelight podcast, where authors, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders step forward to share their ideas, stories, and strategies. I'm Clarissa Burt, inviting you into thoughtful dialogue, refined insight, and an esteemed way of living. Hey everybody, it's Clarissa here. Welcome back in the Limelight. I have yet another extraordinary author and entrepreneur, and I love this subject matter because I think that it's something that we all are asking ourselves. And I really want to take a deeper dive with her and figure out where kind of things might have gone a little bit off the rails. Don't know. But here's her main question, and I love it, is does Gen Z have the skills to enter the professional world? I'm going to bring in Christianne Meneses Jacobs, who is a multi-award winning author and educator for over 25 years of academic experience. She's also written the Easy to Read guide. It's a helpful guide. Here we go. Let me turn it around. And it is called Gen Z Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness. So you are going to be preparing young adults to get ready for the professional world. And you do that through 7 keys. Christianne, let's start with you first. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Oh, of course, of course. I really love the subject because I myself am not a parent, but I know that especially since, let's call it the digital age, and we've put devices in the hands of kids, they may be very prepared for some things and not as prepared for others. And so I wanted to go through your 7 life skills, if that's okay with you, so that we can touch upon the way. Let's get started. The first one is your professional appearance.
Oh, yes, that's very important. You know, the way you present yourself to the world makes you feel very confident. Yeah. And this is something that a lot of young adults are not learning. Either they're not learning from home or they're not learning in college. And they just think that they can just show up at a job interview, just wearing whatever they can, whatever they find in their closet. But it's important to look professional, to look put together. In fact, my daughter was telling me that at her job, they interview a young lady who showed up wearing her sweatpants.
Yeah.
And a sweatshirt.
Yeah. I hear a lot of TikTok videos that I see with HR people going, oh, I can't believe they don't know how to dress. They're showing up in their bonnets and their slippers and their, all the things. And I mean, your professional appearances, I mean, and I talk with my book about through self-esteem, and it's the first column is, your external appearance. So that's really important.
Not just that, also important. And like I tell my daughters too, because one of the reasons why I wrote this book was to teach my daughter these skills. I said, make sure that you brush your teeth also, and that you take a shower before going to the interview.
I don't know where we lost all of those hygienics along the way. Well, let's get really clear real quick. Gen Z were born from when to when? So how old are they?
So they are the children born from 1998 to 2012.
Okay, so how old would they be now? I'm not good with math. How old would they be?
30 years old. They're 27, 30 years old. The oldest ones are 30 years old.
All right, so, take a bath.
And the youngest ones are my daughters, they're like in their 20s.
Yes, of course you need to take a shower, and your hair needs to be shampooed, and your hands, I always have the hand brush, the nail brush. I can't leave the house unless I nail brush every day. Let's move forward. How to start your career?
Yes, a lot of, I belong to a lot of Facebook groups with parents of young adults and also college students. And they have this complaint always around this time when kids are going to graduate from college about why is college not preparing them for the workplace? Why aren't they the classes, to teach them how to interview, how to write a resume, those important things. The colleges have career centers, but to be honest, not everybody uses the career center, which is, not a good idea. Use your career center, establishing that relationship from the beginning. They can't wait until the last semester of senior year to start using the career center. It's like a gold mine in there. There are less of alumni that would like to talk to students,
of course,
interview them, help them out, maybe offer them a job or an interview or an internship, just the foot in the door. So it's important to start at the beginning, with the career center when they start college.
Right.
And also make sure that their resume, when they get help and feedback from the personnel there, the staff at the career center, make sure it's not flashy. It has to be simple. It has to be just a simple Word or Google Doc. Nothing fancy at all. They seem to like to put, like icons and all kind of things, but then they don't think that the ATS system, which is an AI system, the applicant tracking system, cannot read all of that, cannot read columns, it only reads simple text and bullet points too.
Could we say that that's important to start doing even in high school?
Yes, definitely. I know my daughters had the resume when they were in high school, because maybe they were members of a club, or they were also Girl Scouts. So they did that, and everything that they volunteer opportunities, and maybe they had a side job like babysitting, those jobs are important because they show
a resume.
They're organized and they can handle that responsibility. So even though if they're in high school or even middle school, they can start writing a resume.
Christianne, I have to say, when I was in high school, a long time ago, there was, I remember that there were what they would call counselors.
Yes.
And that, if your last name started with B, like my last name being Burt, I would go to one, but they never came and looked for us. They never scheduled an appointment for us. They never told us really that they were there for us. I mean, it was really, nobody ever said, hey, and listen, at this beginning of the year, listen, make sure that you avail yourselves of the resources, that we have with your, nobody ever said a word to us. So it was kind of this enigma. I went to a very, very large high school as well. And it was this enigma, kind of like a counselor. Well, where are they? What room are they in? What area of the school are they? I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I never availed myself of those resources. And I'm kind of sorry I didn't, but everything worked out fine. It's
they're very overwhelmed by the amount of students that they have to serve. I was always the one who took initiative. I always like to know who was my counselor. So I would make an appointment and go sit down for maybe after school and talk to my counselor. And I still talk to my counselor, actually.
Yeah, that's so great. That's great. All right, moving on.
I'm older now. My counselor is still Mr. Austin.
That's so great. That is so great. Social skills. It's the third key is how to empower your social skills.
Something very important is like when young people start a job is to be friendly, to look approachable and smile and introduce yourself to your colleagues, to your coworkers. Hi, I'm Christianne Meneses Jacob. Nice to meet you. What's your name? And find out who the people are. Another important thing is the body language. If your supervisor talks to you about doing maybe a task, maybe make sure that your body language reflects that you are willing to do, instead of just like, yes, and not doing any of the eye contact. If you're looking down and saying, yes, I'm sure, I can do that. That doesn't, it sends mixed signals, important, is how to address your colleagues. The way you talk to your friends is not the way you talk to your coworkers or your supervisor.
Well, when you say that's important for parents to get their kids away from the devices and out into situations where they can be socializing, like you said, Girl Scouts, sports, things that are outside of the house and away from the devices. And look, I know a lot of parents do this. It's, I'm not making anything up, but I also think that it's important to get maybe the devices away for an hour at dinner time. You chop the celery, you set the table, I'm going to fry the chicken, and I'll see, and you'll have an hour with no devices, at all. They're all put up, they're all put away, they're all turned off. And at least you have that 1 hour of the day when you're eating to recount your day, how did it go, what's happening, and just sort of look, it's really hard with kids. I know it's hard with kids. How was your day at school? Fine.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I'm sure I was the same way.
I always ask, what's an important thing that happened, or what's a question you ask?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And it could be even like a really fun. It could be a fun thing to have a bunch of questions in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And just pick one or something. Okay. So and that way there's some prompts, if you will, to it.
Or like, what's something new you learned today, or who do you collaborate with?
Exactly.
Things like that.
All right. So, third then key is, get really good at your social skills. Here's the fourth one, behavioral skills.
Yes. And that the behavioral skills are very important as well. Like I said, you have to know the hierarchy of the organization. You're not going to go and talk to your supervisor and ask address them by their first name,
Right.
unless they ask you that you can do that.
Of course.
Like I never address my boss, as
Of course.
by their first name. I always call them Mr. or Mrs.
Yes,
You
of
know,
course.
unless they ask me that. You know, it's not a good idea for a young person to be talking to their supervisor the same way as their friends. Also, you know, in terms of behavioral skills, networking is very important. And they should start also at the very, you know, like you said, maybe in high school or middle school. Like start with people they know and establish a relationship. Like ask their parents, you know, what does Uncle Matt do? You know, what's his job? What does he actually do? And maybe contact the uncle and talk to the uncle about what they do. Maybe it will spark something. You know, start the networking with people they know, maybe a friend of their friend, and then expand once they're in college to industries that they're familiar with or they want to know more about.
Yeah.
Like establish, you know, like something I call informational interview. You know, call people up, or you know, sometimes they don't want to talk to people. These young adults,
Right.
send them an email and say, "It's dear Mr. So and So. I am Christianne Meneses Jacob. I'm a student at ASU, and I'm interested in learning more about a job in the communications business."
Yeah. Well, I think that, you know, I think a lot of kids today are
like a little bit more like I saw in your LinkedIn profile that you manage the radio station.
Right.
Can I please take 15 minutes of your time to talk about your career? You know,
Yeah.
and they're willing to talk to students. They're willing to talk to young people.
I think it's really more the students that are really shy because of these social skills that have, you know, again, behind the devices, you know, learning, they're still learning things, but they don't have, and, you know, even I go out of my development in the morning, and on my walk or whatever, and I see 15 kids at the bus stop of teenage years, and they're not talking to one another.
Nope.
Every one of them is on their device. And that is tragic to me.
I know.
So
it's
that's
terrible. I'm like, talk to each other.
Yeah,
but sometimes the weirdest thing is that they are in a group. This is what I see also sometimes because I'm a teacher.
Right.
You know, I see them in a group and they're all in their devices, and I walk away and I come over and like, guys, you should be talking to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And they say, we are talking to each other. But they're texting each other when they're like in front of each other. I'm like, that is the weirdest thing.
It's strange. It's a little strange. And so I think maybe they need a little bit of a hand to say, hey, put it down. And wouldn't it be fun to have like a networking event as an assembly in the school? Like all the 7th graders would have to go into the assembly, and you pick the name of somebody and you go to them and you have to network with them. Now everybody goes back to their classrooms, right? Yeah. And you have to tell the teacher what you learned about that one student, you know, just to understand, like, what is networking? How does it work? You know, that's going to be really important for you in your life as you move forward. And the next one, obviously, is professional etiquette. There's your 5th key. So tell me about professional etiquette.
Well, it's very important to know how to dress for an event. You know, like to be like if, for example, if your job lets you go to a conference or maybe dinner with a client, or maybe just a black tie event.
Yep.
You know, like an award ceremony. Make sure that you wear the appropriate clothing for that. And I talk about that also in my book, that you need for that specific event. So I'll give you an example. My daughter was in the swim team in high school. And the first year that she was a freshman, she was all excited. There's a banquet. And she wanted to wear shorts and a t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
And I said, absolutely no, you're not going to a banquet wearing that. Exactly. Oh, but mommy, you know, it's all casual. You know, we're always, I'm like, no, but a banquet is different. It's a formal event. And she wouldn't believe me. I had to go to the dictionary, you know, and show her what the word banquet means. And she's like, okay, all right. You know, so I had to convince her, you know, of that. So she didn't have anything like fancy because I didn't know they were going to have a banquet. So she wore like a little dress. And then we stood outside. We got there a little earlier and we watched the girls walking in. And I said, see, they're wearing heels. They're wearing nice little dresses, you know, they're wearing, you know, fancy purses. They're wearing makeup. You know, you would have felt, you know, uncomfortable wearing a t-shirt and shorts, you know. So and then the next year, of course, we had to go to the store and buy the fancy dress like 2 months before the banquet.
Well, case in point, you know, very recently we saw what just happened at the Houston Rodeo, right? I don't know if you were following along what was happening at the Houston Rodeo, and how, it went straight through, like virally through social media, about how the girls were dressed or not dressed, right? And so they were showing up very scantily clad, and it's really a family event. And so there's a lot of boobs and a lot of butts and a lot of the things that maybe could have been left for another occasion and not that. So yes, appropriateness in dressing, I think, is something that especially our younger generation of girls, really need to take a secondhand look at, because you are, whether you like it or not, you are being everything you wear, you're being judged. I don't care what you tell me, you're being judged. Every word.
We're humans. That's how we judge people,
Yeah. Every word that comes out of every word
you have only one opportunity, one chance to give a very good first impression.
Yeah, and it's not long. It's a few seconds.
It's a few seconds. Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to 6. Oh, this is interesting. Your 7th key to empowering career readiness is digital citizenship.
Yes, I tell the
you
kids,
lost me. I think. What's that?
Up your social media.
Yeah.
Because employers are going to look at your LinkedIn. They're going to look at YouTube. They're going to look at Instagram, TikTok. What have you put out there? And if you're not looking professional, if they see that you are drinking or staying up late and talking about inappropriate things. I talk in my book about things that are not talking about drugs, not talking about firearms, not talking about pornography, not talking about any of that. Clean up the social media, because they think, nobody's going to look at it, but they do. And a lot of, and not talking about racism either, or things that are anti-Semitic or anti-Muslim or anti-anybody, racial groups. I know of people in positions of really power who have, been fired because of posts that they made on X, like Twitter years ago. Yeah. And it comes back.
It never goes away. Yeah.
Never goes away. I tell my daughters, be intentional, about what you post online.
No doubt.
Your employers are going to look at it.
Yeah, this is great. This is all great stuff. I mean, this is all really, really good. Okay, so we're going now to your 7th key to empowering career readiness, and that is money matters.
Yes, it's important, for young adults to start maximizing their 401ks from the very beginning.
And their credit. Credit.
Yes, it's important not to spend every single money that they earn. I know I have one daughter who loves to save and the other one who can't wait to spend. But even that one who loves to spend.
I'm guilty. I think I'm guilty.
She's like learning, I am poor this month. I spent my $100 allowance.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do? I can't go out to dinner with my friends, or to the movies. Oh, maybe you should have not spent $95 on that sweatshirt you wanted from the very start.
Yeah. So what are like the first steps? Apply to a credit card, get a bank account.
The first thing, it would be like I told my daughters, you need to have a checking account and a savings account. A checking account is used for anything that they need to spend money on, that is, a necessity, and their saving accounts is for something they want to save their money for, that they want to buy, but also is something that they want to spend for the future. And not just only that, they also have Roth IRAs accounts and also other investment accounts. Yeah. So it's important, to play the stock market. Nowadays my daughters open accounts with Schwab, where they can buy stocks of different companies that they like, different companies that they buy items from, or like they love the company, they love the product, so buy stock on it. So that's important. So it's important
that leave it there. Leave the money there and let it grow.
Yes, leave it, and do not touch it. Even if the stock market crashes, do not touch it at all. Just leave it there, because it's going to keep growing. Because I tell them, the younger you are, the more money you're going to have by the time you're 65, 70 years old, when you want to retire.
Yeah.
That's the important thing, is to look into the future, not just look at the short-term goals. That's what the small savings account is for a rainy day, something that you need for, And also, if your car breaks down, you will have that little money in your savings account to help you,
Oh yeah.
fix your car.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Life
the,
is yeah.
the long-term goal is to
Yeah.
save money for the future, for retirement, and you start doing that when on your first job. Start applying for your 401k and your Roth IRA. Those are important.
Wow.
Save your money.
This is the
Don't
greatest
spend it
information.
all. And
Such
if
good
they
information.
apply for a credit card, do not just, like my daughters, I tell them, pay the balance. Do not carry a balance.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Don't
Because
carry
in
the
the
balance.
end, because of interest and fees, you're going to pay
Absolutely.
twice as much as what you pay for.
My whole life, I paid everything off directly, just right
Yep.
away. That is such
That's
great
really good.
information. Everybody, I want to show the book again. Here we go. You can see it well. It is Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, the 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness and Life Readiness, I would say also. But this is some really, really great advice, everybody. Where can everybody find your book, Christianne?
Well, right now it's available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble also.com. And you can go to our local Barnes & Noble and also requested it, or buy it online, and bookshop.com as well.
Bookshelf.com. That's extraordinary.
Bookshop.
A bookshelf. Okay, great. All right, fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for your time, for being with us. It was some really, really great information. And I'm going to say goodbye for now until we meet again. Everybody, we've got another show coming up soon, so stay tuned. Be well. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the In the Limelight podcast, intelligent media for the savvy entrepreneur. You'll find my video interviews on YouTube and clarissaburt.com, and the audio version of the interviews you can get wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to connect with me on social, pretty much anywhere, and do stay well until we meet again in the Limelight.